former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is asking the federal government to declare a state of emergency on the country's education sector. Mr. Atiku wants the government to ensure that all schools in the affected areas are under 24-hour guard by security forces. He expresses concern over the continued attacks on schools in the country. He says the abductions in Nigerian schools will only worsen the country's security situation and result in higher number of out-of-school children. Well, joining us now for more on the shutting down of schools in northern Nigeria and its implication on the country is Taiwo Akinlami, a lawyer, child rights advocate, and UNICEF consultant. Thank you so much, Mr. Akinlami, for joining us. Well, let me begin by asking you if you can hear me, Mr. Akinlami. What do you make of this developing trend we're seeing in the northern region of the country? Almost 700 schools have been shut in states across the northern region.
Okay, let me start by saying that it's a very sad development that our children can no more go to school in a safe environment. The number one responsibility of a nation is to educate its youth, and that in itself is being attacked right now. I think it calls for a sober reflection. It calls for the declaration of a state of emergency in the northern states and all over Nigeria, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So for me, I think that this is something we need to discuss, because one of the prerequisites to learning is a safe environment, and that is what exactly is being attacked right now. So I think we need to do something about it real quick, and it cannot be something that will be subject to debate alone. There has to be concrete actions on the ground for the purpose of rescuing the soul of our children.
All right, Taiwo, one would wonder when we cry state of emergency, what this will imply. But that's by the way. In Katsina, out of the 38 shut down, 4 have reopened. Now, males in the remaining 34 have been asked to report to their schools, where their female colleagues were asked to stay back home. Now, this seems like a further blow to the girl-child education. What's your sense?
Well, you don't ask children. There were some circumstances that necessitated the shutting down of schools, which was mainly insecurity. Now, as of today, nothing has been done in terms of clear plan, program, processes that is in place for the purpose of ensuring that what happened before did not repeat itself. Up until yesterday or day before yesterday, children were still being carted away and kidnapped. And they are kidnapped, they are returned, they are kidnapped, they are returned. It's become like a game of chess, just carrying children away and returning them. Now, the government has not told us in clear terms what steps they are going to take to ensure that children are protected within the school system. I think that just reopening the school is not going to work. And just reopening the school does not instill confidence in the parents and even in the children themselves to return to school. So there has to be a concrete plan in place. Government has to be held accountable to explain to us what exactly is going on. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, and justifiably so. You cut away children, there's rumors of negotiation, there's rumors of money exchanging hands. What we used to hear before was individuals were paying ransom. Now we now hear that government is paying payment of ransom to rescue children. And so all of that is within the public domain. So the question therefore is that where do we go from here? We are not hearing from the Minister of Education. We are not hearing from the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, whose responsibility is to protect the welfare and the security of the people. So there's room for a lot of speculations. There's room for a lot of rumors. There's room for a lot of assumptions. And a nation cannot exist like that. A people who are supposed to be in school, children, cannot exist like that. There's no keener revelation of the soul of a nation than how it treats its children. And this is coming against the backdrop of the fact that 13.5 million Nigerian children are out of school today. So I think it's very sad, and it's something we need to do something about real quick.
Okay. Some might say that the chickens are coming home to roost insofar as we've under-invested in education to begin with. If you see some of the buildings on the the B-roll there, you can see that they're very neglected. And if you look at the budget, education budget in previous times, in 2019, you were looking at 7.05%, and then in 2020, 6.7% of the budget. And we even know that, the Safe Schools initiative that was raised, the funds that were raised then in 2014, we're yet to know what was done with that. So perhaps what we're seeing is our children made vulnerable by an underinvestment in education. UNICEF were the ones that rolled out the data that said 1 in every 5 children who are out of school globally are in Nigeria. So would you say that to get to the root of this problem, we need to go back to our value of education to begin with, and then put the right investment to match that value? What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, the book that I read says, why do you put wisdom in the hand of a fool? I think that's why I said, when it has no sense for it. I think the first thing we need to recognize is that under budgeting for education, I think it's a deliberate attempt, because there's no way to keep the people poorer and keep them oppressed than deny them of education. A properly educated mind will not accept an act of tyranny, because to accept an act of tyranny is an act of intellectual self-dispossession. That is what Adebayo Williams said in 1993 during the June 12 crisis. Now, so what we need to understand is that there's a deliberate effort to not to educate Nigerians. That's a fundamental issue. Because once Nigerians are educated, they're able to ask critical questions about governance, about the state of the nation, about the responsibility of government. And when you keep the people uneducated, then you have access to manipulate them, to sell them, lies, propaganda, and the rest of it. So, because the truth of the matter is this, the people who don't have access to education today, or the people who have been chased out of school, are the children of house of wood and drawers of water, the children of the Oipoloi, the people that Franz Fanon called the wretched of the earth. Those are the children that are affected today. The children of the upper class, the children of the rich, they are not affected. Now, if the rich does not know the value of education, why do they give it to their children at the highest level? Now, they know the value of education. So the question you need to ask curiously is that why is it the children of the poor, the ones of wood and drawers of water, that are denied of education? There is a program, there's a script being run there. So the whole idea of not providing education has been a script that has been on for so many years. And I think we cannot discuss education under the state of Nigeria. My thinking is that the whole state of Nigeria needs an overhauling. We need a restructuring. We need people call it a peaceful revolution.
Taiwo
We need
Akinlami,
going forward.
a UNICEF child rights advocate and legal practitioner. Thank you so much.